Call to order the Historic Preservation Commission meeting for Tuesday, August 10th. Welcome all in attendance and to everyone that's coming back from COVID shutdowns. I have a roll call.
Diane Franken.
Here.
Julie Sage.
Here.
Christine Powers.
Here.
Karen Miranda.
Here.
Alex Wilga excused. Kevin Lestagi excused. And Bob McGivern.
Here. That'll take us to item number 2, the Secretary's report. I need a motion and a second or any questions with the previous meetings. Can I get a motion and a second for approval?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as read. A second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor of approval?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Move on. Communications, staff?
Sure. So we have a couple of communications. One is the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions. We'll be hosting a workshop in Van Horn, Iowa, which is about an hour, 45 minutes from Davenport. It'll be on October 2nd, which is a Saturday, and it's a full day workshop. So this is a good educational opportunity for any of the commissioners that want to attend, just to network with other communities and see what other commissions are doing throughout the state. And then there is a registration fee, so please contact myself or Laura if you would like to attend, and we can sign up for you. And then I have a second item that I want to update the commission on. So this is a project that was approved at the June Historic Preservation Commission meeting. So this is 1208 Main Street. So we approved tuck pointing and brick replacement on this building. Sorry about that. So one, they had a mortar analysis done. And then the second condition was that they use a concave joint when they tuck point. So city staff, myself, and Jake with the building department went out there just to follow up on the scope of work that started last weekend. So they are using the correct mortar as well as the correct joint. However, if you look at the photo on the left, so that's brick that's recently been tuck pointed. So it does kind of have that whiter appearance, and it does look a little messy. So we asked the mason to clean a portion of it just so we could see what it would look like when complete. So that would be the image on the right. So if you drive by or walk by right now, you might think it's not being done correctly. However, just give it time. The finished product will look much cleaner and in accordance with what was approved in June. So.
Thank you. Takes us to item number 4, old business. We have no old business on the agenda. Takes us to item number 5, new business. First case number COA 21-08, request for exterior alteration of the Frederick Hartman House located at 604 West 5th Street, Hamburg, local landmark historic district. Brett McCausland of Bush Construction, petitioner on behalf of the owners. Staff.
Okay, so this is a follow-up on a work session that was done back in May. So this house is located in the Hamburg local landmark historic district. It's a brick home that was built in 1868 in a vernacular Greek revival architectural style. So the application has 2 different components to it. The purpose of the project is to provide safe fire ingress and egress from the second floor. So one of the projects includes the east porch, which is shown highlighted in yellow. It's an existing porch, and they would be adding a second floor. So that way you can exit the building from the second floor onto that landing space. And then the second portion of the project is a 2-story deck addition onto the west portion of the building outlined in yellow. So I'll just kind of walk through one project at a time. So this is the east porch. You could see currently it's just an overhang over the first floor. The applicant would create a second floor deck / balcony area. It would be the current dimensions of that first porch, so about 6 feet by 16 feet. Railings will be installed on top, and then there is also an existing window on the south elevation that would be converted into a door to provide access onto that balcony area. So here you can see the renderings of what the project will look like. So it will have a new aluminum clad door and trim. The railings will be black aluminum railings. Composite deck boards will be laid over the existing porch to create a solid footing. The existing gutters will also remain in place. A new composite fascia board will be placed on there, and then the porch would be painted white. So you could see the view from the south, from 5th Street, and then the east elevation as well, what that might look like. So then the second portion of the project is the west deck addition. So the image on the left shows the view of the house. So there's the historic brick building, which is a red brick, and then an addition that was put onto the rear of the building in later years, which is not historic on its own right. So the 2-story deck addition would span from the rear to about, I'd say maybe 2/3. So it doesn't quite go out to the 5th Street front of the building. A door would be added in to the second floor non-historic addition directly above the existing first floor entrance. And then the window on the second floor on the far right in that photo, just like on the east porch, would be removed, and then a door would be installed. So there's 2 different access points then from the second floor. Then the deck would wrap down, and it would be wrapped in brick at the base to be compatible with the historic brick building. And materials are very similar then to the east porch. So it'd be composite floorboards, an aluminum black railing, and then a PVC column wrap around those. So dimension-wise, it's 9 feet by 24 feet is the actual deck area, and then with the stairs branching off there. The applicant has submitted specs for the proposed doors. So they chose a style and design that's very comparable to the existing windows. So the windows on the building are currently a vinyl window, which are non-historic. So they're matching that appearance with the door. Here we see the proposed material samples. So there's several different brick samples that the applicant will be mixing together to kind of create a more compatible brick design that would complement the character of the original building. Composite decking, and then there's a photo example of what the aluminum railing might look like. So staff has a couple of recommendations. So staff is recommending approval of the following. So the first is the structural area of rescue above the east porch and the proposed building materials. The second is the deck and fire escape addition to the west of the building elevation with the submitted building materials. And then the third is the installation of the new door on the second floor of the non-historic addition. And then staff is recommending to table the 2 second floor window conversions into a door on the east and west deck. So these are the windows that they would have to cut down at the base to meet the finished second floor landing for ingress and egress. So the purpose is to allow the applicant additional time to explore window options that would fit the existing openings while still enabling safe egress from the structure in the event of an emergency. So extending the height of the opening by removing brick down to the finished second floor would destroy the historic brick and cause damage that would be tough to reconstruct one day in the future.
Is that all from staff?
Yep.
Is the petitioner here and would like to comment or provide any additional information?
I'm here. I'm gonna have to go.
And you don't need
Yeah.
to, just whatever you feel like you need to.
Sure. So, I guess my comment about the doors themselves, basically, the amount that would be cut down, I pulled some measurements, about 2 weeks ago to see about exactly how much that would be. We're looking at close to 8 inches of brick that would be taken out of there, so it's just a few courses actually that would be. And if you're standing there looking from the road, first of all, or any other spot on the property, you're really not going to notice that that brick has been cut out and removed from that small portion right there. That's kind of my main comment of that. And I believe when we went through the work session, the point was made to, make it look like it belonged there or it was originally there. And, there are quite a few houses in that area that do have where you can see that the windows actually used to be a door where there was a deck, previously. So that's one thing. And if this were truly a commercial building, I guess the zoning is a little bit different. But if we were building something like this on a commercial building, if you're putting stairs up for egress, a window is not sufficient actually to use as egress. You actually have to put in a door. Same thing for the area of rescue, because technically somebody could use crutches to get up the stairs and then they could wheel around in a wheelchair up on the second level. So they could actually wheel out onto that balcony. So there would have to be a little bit of modification. So maybe that would have to come up a little bit higher to, come even with the bottom of the door.
This is one of the, I have next door, and this is a lower window that used to be the deck, so it's just cutting that little bit down, but that's actually, was a door, next door.
So those are basically my main comments that I do have about the objections to the door. And really, an egress window, that's for the fire department to actually be able to come into the building if there is a fire. So this would allow somebody easily to exit the building.
So that those windows would be the same, how come you couldn't move that deck up to be at the baseline of the windows?
Well, if you did that, then, from inside of the building, you would technically,
The floor and the deck.
the
would
floor
not
and the,
be even.
yeah.
Okay.
80-year-old mother.
It's mostly to avoid needing to step over a large threshold to access the area. That's all I have.
Anything else?
And one thing more to add on the
If you
giving.
please come stand.
Oh,
just so
sorry,
underneath
yes.
the microphone. It'll pick up from there.
Perfect. On giving more time to research windows, I will say that Brett has been researching for 2 months. And the point of trying to find something that matches the integrity of the home. These doors are custom. They're very expensive that the owner is going to invest in. And finding egress windows would not have that same look. So ones that he has researched would not have that same, are they muttons in the middle, or what is that called?
Yeah,
Yeah, but there was a lot of research put into the actual doors. So, obviously, we could take that time and look at some egress windows as well, but it did take a couple of months to try and find these custom ordered doors. And then lead time is an issue right now. I know our owner was concerned last window, that's when her fears kicked in for trying to find these egress options. So if we could make a decision sooner than later, it would allow us to get the supplies and get this rolling. So by the time winter comes in, if she's using her heaters, it's not a scare to her.
And go ahead. So the purpose of this, a door makes me feel very comfortable that my mom, who's almost 80 years old, will be able to traverse in and out easily. And I don't have any concern with that, because sometimes I do watch her go downstairs and I'm concerned. So taking that into consideration, I wouldn't want not to be at fault for this. If she was going and in a hurry, or if she was even going slowly, there's a concern for me. Thank you.
One comment too, for about replacing it later. I'm not a tuck point and a brick master, but I'm guaranteeing you that somebody would be able to put that back in the future if it was needed. I mean, with all the advancements that we have. So we would keep the bricks that they removed and store them in the basement. And then if somebody wanted to put it back, but like with my property, it's still, the window goes to the floor because it was a deck, double-decker deck. And they just put a window in it, but it sits there now. So that's all I was saying, is that someone could go to the trouble of making it back to a window, or leave it like mine where it's just a window instead of a door if somebody wanted to in the future.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing nobody else, this will take us now to the commission's turn. Oh, I'm sorry. And I should ask you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, Jeffrey Gomez. I live on the corner of 5th and Gaines, 630 West 5th. So my only concern here is that this present house, historically, when Fritz Miller was on the board and the vinyl windows were put in, they were to be stored in the house. So the original windows are, my understanding, still with the house. So leeway has already been given to this structure as to windows and the historical integrity of the house. As someone who does not have any of the historical windows in their house and is in the process of replacing, I do sympathize with their plight. On the property where Cafe de Marie is, the windows that have been bricked up, that porch, two-story porch, was not original to that house. That was a Stephan house. It was originally, and so yes, someone expanded the windows, made them doors when it was a two-story porch. Now it's back to where there is no porch in front of the house. And so bricking that. So over time, yes. Add additions and subtractions. Adding, so walking from downtown and looking to this east porch, I can tell that if we expand this window into a door or whatever, it's not that easy to restore that. We are in the process of researching with brick masons that we've had work on tuck pointing our house, and we've had work done. You've seen pictures, you'll see pictures here later this evening, where brick matching is not exactly easy to duplicate at this time, especially bricks that are over 150 years old. So I do have some concerns with that. Also, I don't know what is gained with the egress on the east door, because the ladder still has to be put up over this railing. So if the argument is fire egress, then a fire department would still have to put a ladder up over this railing. A ladder can be reached to the porch floor or the rooftop right now if the occupant came to that window. Also, this is a residential / commercial neighborhood. It is odd, but if I lived in Windsor Crest or McClellan Heights or wherever else, I would not be allowed to put a fire escape essentially on the front of my house. So egress could be easily changed. I'm a hospice nurse. I understand when people cannot go up and down stairs anymore. I understand what home health is. Been doing it for 15 plus years. Then arrangements can be made that that person now needs to live on the main floor.
We'll stay on purpose. We'll stay on
So
purpose.
I'm staying on that purpose because it speaks back to what are we doing with the historical integrity of the house and what accommodations can be made without having to alter the house in an inappropriate way.
All right.
Thank you.
For your opinion, sir. Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public? Okay, so now we're going to, this will come to our commissioners' turns to speak. And do I have anyone have any questions for staff?
I have a question for staff. In the past, have we ever had to answer, so to speak, to state regulations for people with special needs in a physical environment such as this. Is there any guidance that you can give us on
So
that?
there is some flexibility in terms of providing like ADA access to buildings that can be granted. I've not come across fire code for a single-family home in this case that I could apply for this case, essentially.
And to add on to that, residential building code does only require one exit door out of a home. And then each sleeping room would require egress size window that meets the minimum dimensions for a egress window in each sleeping room.
And there are 2 on that side and 1 in the back.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? Go ahead.
Okay, my question with this, it just seems to me that it's more of a deck and porch than a fire escape. And there's an awful lot being changed to this house. And I feel like it's one of those, if we do this, you know, what's to stop somebody else from just adding a deck on the house and saying, well, that house has one too. I don't know if that's even a consideration, but to me, it just seems more like outdoor living space than fire escape. I mean, if I see that, you know, composite decking being added to that roof, it's like if it's only used in the very, you know, unfortunate circumstance of a fire, why does, you know, I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking when I read this, when I read the information that we were given. It just seems like too much changed, too much added for it just to be fire escape. That's mine.
Is there any, it doesn't show who's asking, so is there anyone else who has a question for staff? I do. Matt, so we're talking a couple inches from the, of brick, really, but my concern is if you're driving by, or from the street level, there's a difference between an appearance of a door and a window. So do we have what they're proposing to put in there so you can know from street grade? From street grade, I mean, what's going to change is some railing on a deck, really. But from street grade, do we know what it's going to appear like? Will it look just like that old window or a similar type of design, or?
So the door that they chose is the most compatible style of door in relation to the existing windows. We don't have a rendering or a point of view from street level showing what that might look like, other than really an existing photo. So it's likely that you would notice the railing and the deck flooring probably more so on the east elevation than you might notice the window. So.
Okay, why don't you take us back to the staff recommendation, if you would, please? And why don't you go over that again with the commission?
Sure. So staff is recommending approval of the area of rescue on the east porch as proposed, the deck and fire escape addition to the west of the building, and then the installation of the door on the addition of the second floor. And then what we're recommending to table is the conversion of the windows to doors. So under that tabling option, the applicant would need to do more research or provide us with additional research saying, you know, we looked at different windows that would meet our needs for fire escape. Here's what we found. here's the door that we proposed, and then the commission would vote separately on those conversions.
Okay. I guess before we get to the doors or anything else like that, I guess I have a question on your recommendation number 2 on the back side. The PVC column wrapping, that's the only part of it I don't understand. On the back of that building, why PVC? For material.
We don't need it. We don't need it, though.
And I guess I'm just looking for clarification.
It matches, like Jeff and Dwayne live next door, and they have a PVC fence that goes right down the middle, and so it seems like, you might even see it on there, I guess you don't, but it's right there. And the windows itself are the white kind of vinyl, so we could do anything, we are willing to change the wrap. But that was just something we were that they put a fence in that was right there that was all PVC white, and so when you look at it, you see this huge fence that's PVC white right there, and then you see those windows, and I thought, well, maybe, like we were thinking that would look good to wrap it, and it's easy to take care of. But we would be willing to do even whatever it would take, even if it's brick or something. It was just because that's what you see when you look at the house, what they put in that vinyl fence, and then their windows, basically. And but that's not something that had to be, it just looked clean and it matched the windows that were there that got approved. And in regards to the windows to doors, too, there is a bedroom on both sides of that. So that's the reason for the 2 doors too, for the historic side too, for the door itself.
Okay. Thank you for your clarification.
I can explain the column wraps a little bit. So basically what's gonna be on the inside, it's gonna be a 6x6, and the column wrap's gonna go around it. The PVC, more than likely, it's gonna have more of an appearance of wood. If you ever seen some of those Vipen column wraps, they don't really, if you're thinking it's gonna be like some shiny looking plastic, it's not going to be that. So if you look at the pattern book that was provided to us, that's what we based most of this design off of.
Okay.
That style of column, which is provided by Vipen, for these square column wraps, that's what's being used there. So that's why we went with the PVC, and it's, maintenance friendly. And of course, if you're gonna do something like this, you don't wanna have to be out there painting it every year or two, it's just more friendly for the homeowner.
All right. Does the commissioners have any other questions on any of the other issues outside of the windows? Matt, if you want to take us back to the staff recommendation again, please? Okay. Well, commissioners? Sure, please.
In regards to your looking like a deck, I feel like with that white trim all the way around also, it looks more like a deck. And I'm noticing on the windows, they are white, but there is like I don't know if it's black or brown around the edges. I feel like maybe if all that was one color to match maybe the darker railing, it wouldn't look so much like a deck. Maybe
We will do anything you want.
that was just a
Yeah,
recommendation.
we
I was
will,
thinking,
I promise.
I just think that with that white vinyl on there, I agree, it's gonna.
Thank you. We were actually having a conversation about what was best and what least looked like Mr. McGivern said the last time, is to that looked like the actual that it was originally there. So thank you. No, we will so you're saying dark
Yeah, black.
or black?
That's my personal assessment of it, but I don't know what
Thank
everybody
you.
else thinks. But
Thank you. That's appreciated.
I guess a little dialogue with the commission is just some feedback. What are we thinking in terms of, as proposed, the windows? Ma'am, if you could just,
She's fine.
one moment,
That's fine.
please. And I'll make sure you have an opportunity to speak, I promise you.
I just think that sounds like there's lots of questions still. And I think we should take the recommendation of staff on this. And I know about delays, I know how difficult that just as the wording is, because it is an alteration to the building, no matter how small, how large, it's something that we have to consider seriously because of the precedent that we're sending. I think that's what you're alluding to. So I will make a motion that we follow.
Before you do that, I want to make sure if any of the commissioners have any other dialogue. Is there anyone else that would have any dialogue? The only other thing that I would, if we're going to follow the staff recommendation, which I think is a good idea, we may need to consider like a special Historic Preservation Commission meeting if they get us back information, because with the season and ordering material, and that's something that we'll talk about in the work session later. Okay, all right. Before we go forward, I promised.
Oh, Delia.
Delia, if you would like to speak, please come forward.
Well, no, I was just having second thoughts, and I thought, maybe I don't want to say this, but I was surprised, kind of shocked, coming from a nurse, to put this little old lady in the basement and just be more concerned about how my house looks. And I promise we'll make it look any way you want. And with the long deck looking like that, it just made more sense to continue, because with the one bedroom there in the opening, and to split the deck and then start another one over here, that's why they did that.
Okay,
But,
we'll get it figured out.
okay, thank you. But I
Eventually.
promise anything they.
We'll work together.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I'm going to need a motion for something.
I'll just repeat my motion.
Thank you.
It's the recommendation by staff as is written in the directions.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to accept staff recommendation. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Powers? Yes. Miranda? Yes. Franken?
Yes.
Sage?
Yes.
McGivern?
Yes.
Motion passes.
I have a quick, does that mean that you,
Yeah.
that you
So-
follow 1, 2, 3?
So what that means is you can proceed forward, subject to building permits, for the west deck addition and for the area of rescue on the east porch. However, you cannot cut the opening in the two existing windows until you come back to the commission. And what I recommend is showing other window designs that you've explored. I'll follow up with you guys tomorrow, submitting that to the commission. And, you know, really want to explain your case why other designs didn't work, or maybe you can find one that does work in the existing opening. And then that will be brought forward to the commission for a separate vote at a later date.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Takes us to item number B, case number C0821-17, request for installation of new windows at 630 West Fifth Street. The John Rutch House is located at the Hamburg Local Landmark Historic District. Dwayne Tim is the petitioner. Staff?
All right, so we're moving to the other corner of the block, the John Rutch House. Just a little bit of background, we met with the owners last month at a work session to discuss the building and some of their proposed projects over the course of the next couple of years. However, tonight's item is for the replacement of 7 windows on the building. One of them will be on the north elevation or the rear of the yard, which is outlined in yellow in that photo on the right. And then the other 6 will be on the east elevation, so facing towards the side yard. 3 of them will be on the second floor, and then 2 on the ground level floor. So the reason for replacement cited by the applicant is that the plastic track of the tilt pack windows have warped, letting rainwater in behind. The windows allow drafts, so hot air on days like today in the summer, and then cold air during the winter months. and then failed window components. So the replacement windows replicate as closely as possible the historic windows on the home. So they will fit the existing window openings. They'll maintain the 6/6 window pane configuration with the sash and grid design. And they will be an evergreen clad exterior with aluminum screens then on the outside. So staff is recommending approval of the certificate of appropriateness to install the 7 windows. Staff reviewed the project for conformance with the city's zoning ordinance. Which permits, when deteriorated architectural features can be repaired, they should rather than replaced. However, where severity of deterioration requires replacement, the new feature should match the old in design, color, texture, and other visual qualities. And the benefit here is that we do have existing windows elsewhere on the building that indicate to us what these windows used to look like at one point in time. And then the proposed windows also match the proportions of the historic character of the building.
Anything else?
That is all for now.
Anyone from the public? Commission? A motion?
I'll make a motion. I move that we approve the certificate of appropriateness to install the new windows in accordance with the material that's been submitted.
I second.
A motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Franken?
Yes.
Sage?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
McGivern?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. This takes us to item number C, case number C0A21-18, request for reconstruction of the east porch at 1208 Main Street. The J. Monroe Parker Vick House is locally designated historic landmark and located within the College Square Historic District. Casey Haas, petitioner on behalf of the ownership. Staff?
Okay, so just a little bit of background. We were first introduced to this project, I believe, in April at a work session. So the building's currently owned by an alumni association of Palmer College. They're currently working on the masonry, which was one component, but however, the second component is the east porch and its reconstruction. So the purpose of the project is to repair and stabilize the porch, and the applicant's proposing compatible materials to substitute the failing existing ones. So it's really a reconstruction project, maintain components as salvageable, and then replace any deteriorated ones with compatible material. So here's a floor plan outlining the east porch. So they're maintaining the current dimensions, so it won't be expanded or extended in any way. So that's the layout. And then these are the photos submitted by the architect. One thing I want to point out too is at that April work session, the commission recommended that they hire an architect to do a thorough review of the porch. And the applicant has hired, I believe it's Studio 483 to prepare these plans. And then in addition, following that April work session, city staff, Laura and myself, as well as Alderperson McGinnis, also met with the applicant on the site to kind of walk through the project and to provide some historic preservation tips. So they're complying so far and working in good faith with the commission to get this done correctly. So the project, there are fiberglass columns on the structure that will be replaced with new fiberglass columns. The capitals will be salvaged. There's a more deteriorated one on the corner, which is outlined on that photo on the left. That'll be relocated to a less noticeable location, and then one of the capitals in a better condition will be placed in that more prominent corner. The roof will be repaired and patched where needed to prevent further deterioration from weather. The concrete steps and walkway will be replaced with concrete cast to replicate the original condition. The piers at the base of the porch will also be recast in concrete to replicate the historic character of it. And then the floorboard is currently like a plywood material that's deteriorated. That'll be reset with a PVC flooring material. So just working through the dental and molding on the porch will be replicated with new material to match the old. The railings on the structure, we believe are original. They're wood railings and they feature that half oval shape. The deterioration is rather severe, so the applicant will be making replica railings made from wood to match the existing ones. So the nice thing about that is that we could see the form and shape of what the historic character of the railings were to be replicated as closely as possible. The columns at the base, or the pedestals at the base of the columns will also be replaced with compatible material that will replicate the existing column pedestal as well. So staff is making a recommendation to approve the certificate of appropriateness for the reconstruction of the east porch. So likewise, the project was reviewed for conformance with the city's historic preservation ordinance and found that it met the following criteria. One, that every reasonable effort shall be made to make the minimum number of changes necessary to maintain the property in a good state of repair. And deteriorated architectural features should, where possible, be repaired rather than replaced. However, where the severity of deterioration requires replacement, the new feature should match the old in design, color, texture, and other visual qualities. And then finally, historic and original architectural features or replacement elements should replicate the original and be repaired where possible.
Okay. Diane?
Glass of water. Okay, sorry. I had a question during the week, and I discussed this with Matt, and we were provided in our packet the original floor plans. I just want everybody to know how unusual it is to have original floor plans and how helpful that can be. And I think particularly in this case, because the Parker Fick house is a gem in this community, only rivaled, I think, a bit by the governor's residence in Des Moines. So not that smaller houses aren't just as important to us, but this is a gem that we should all be proud of. In short, it showed an incised design in the railings that was very important to the look of it. And you can't see that on any of the slides. It's a very detailed thing. Probably the deterioration, Matt, would you say that has all but erased evidence of that?
Yeah, it's possible.
So are you kind of assuring us that in their preparation, they're looking at also at, because these are all, nothing there is original. It's all existing, big difference.
Mm-hmm.
So are they going to be looking at the blueprints rather than the designs that are there?
So the applicant and the architects have been provided the blueprints. So I imagine that they'll look at the blueprints as well as what's currently out there, and then take that and try to the best of their ability and to recreate that.
If I remember from the work session we had, the ones on the east porch pillars did not match the back porch, and maybe one was original and one wasn't. Is that true? So are they trying to match the pillars on the back? Is that,
I could, excuse me, I'm Casey.
Come forward and,
Contractor.
nope, come forward,
I was
stand
here
behind,
a few
underneath the
meetings.
cube and just tell us what you need to tell us.
The columns, there's a small porch just to the north of that on the east side of the house. Those columns are cast in cement. So I don't know this, but I can assume that maybe at one point this front porch under consideration here might have had the same columns. And what's there now is like a creosote soaked power pole that's wrapped in the tin or something, and that's what's currently there. But it would, what's proposed by the architect is like a permacast. It's a ceramic column. It's not solid ceramic, but it's load bearing, and it looks awfully close to what's there on that other porch, that small porch next to it. So, yeah.
Thanks.
Anyone else from the commission? Thank you. Anyone else from the commission have any other questions for staff? Any thoughts?
I did have one more question. I heard you said they're replacing the deck boards with PVC. Is that the same as composite, or is that the plasticky looking? Sorry,
No,
I just checked my notes.
It's similar. The product that Greg Gowie spec'd out is, on the website, it says can be used on historic properties, and I think he's done it before on projects in Rock Island, I think he said, but I think it's composite and PVC are similar. Composite has some wood chunks in it. PVC is fully plastic, so that's the only difference. In appearance, they're exactly the same. But yeah.
Aren't those tongue and groove too?
They
So
are tongue and
look
groove,
just
correct.
like the wood.
That is correct.
Yeah.
And they have, I think, 4 colors to choose from-ish, something like that.
I have a question. Doesn't the composite have a tendency, though, to warp over time?
I haven't had that experience. Now, composite, I have had where it will soak up more moisture than PVC, which is the nature because it has wood in it. So where there are butt joints and seams, sometimes they kind of pop and look unsightly. So on this, we can get boards long enough so there wouldn't be any. I think it's only like a 16 or 20 foot long thing, and they make the boards that long, so there wouldn't be any seams regardless of the product. They make them 20 feet. So, yeah.
I had a question about the floorboards on a porch of this period. What is the width of the board?
What's what is proposed? That's a good question. I'm not certain.
Trying to find out.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not certain on that.
He said they were somewhere 4 inches to 5 inches. That seemed a little wide from houses that I've seen, but
Yeah, I agree. That sounds, usually they're 3 or 3.5 or something.
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
maybe a concern that we look into the floorboards. Maybe there's another company that has a narrower width. that you want to keep.
Unfortunately, what's there now is just plywood that's carpeted. So,
Plywood and carpet. Pardon me. All right.
all right.
Thank you so much. Okay. Recommendation or some thoughts from the commission?
I would just like to add that they look into the measurements of the floorboard. That would be my own consideration.
Okay.
Can you
So-
say that into the microphone, please?
I'd say, yeah, keep in mind,
I just think the only consideration or addition that I would have to your recommendation from the staff is to possibly look into the dimensions of the floorboards on the porch, and if possible, find a company that can help with that. Otherwise, I'm fine with it.
So that could be a condition that's added to the approval, that they find a more compatible floorboard and provide dimensions on what it might look like and research the period of that architectural style and construction and find something that's compatible with that. And then,
Would you be okay with staff level approval of that?
Yes, I would.
okay.
So it seems to me that we have a consensus of accepting the staff recommendation with a clarification on the width of the porch flooring, which will be conditional on staff approval. So I need a motion
So moved.
and a second. I got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Miranda? Yes. Rankin?
Yes.
Sage?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
McGivern?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Takes us to item D, case number C08.
One moment. Can we have the print photos that were handed out at the previous? Thank you.
No problem. All right, this takes us to item number D of the agenda, case number C0A2119, request for the installation of a new roof at 511 Gaines Street, Hamburg Local Landmark Historic District, Jonathan Fame petitioner. Staff?
Okay, so this building, 511 Gaines, also located in the Hamburg Local Landmark Historic District. So this is just north of the previous application that did the window replacement. So this is located on Gaines and adjacent to the alley. So this is an old carriage house. Recently, the Code Enforcement Division sent a notice and order to the property owner and cited a number of repairs that are needed to the structure. So the applicant's here today just to address the roof replacement. So the roof is currently severely deteriorated, so it's an old asphalt shingle roof and would be replaced with a new asphalt shingle roof. Work was started on this building last week and was brought to city staff's knowledge. So city staff contacted the applicant and the roof contractor, and so they since have tarped the roof to prevent further water damage, and then pending a vote tonight, if approved, could start theoretically tomorrow. So here are some photos of the house in the current condition. So just be advised, staff is working with the applicant to come up with a game plan on how to address the exterior of the building. So the roof is just the project today, but we may see this in the future for further repairs, including to that back staircase and addition area, as well as some masonry work. But today is just the roof. So staff is recommending approval of the roof, and the project was reviewed for conformance with the historic preservation ordinance. So the area to highlight here is our goal really is to keep the property in a good state of repair. So that's kind of the main concern on this project, and deterioration is evident, so replacing with new material would be appropriate in this case.
Would the petitioner like to speak or have any questions? Come forward. If you don't have to, if you don't need to. Please come forward.
Yes. This is Jonathan, and this is the first time, I try to repair, and I try learning how to do all the process to fix up my house.
Okay.
And the first thing I want to do is prepare the roof, and I hire a contractor to work on it. And I'm sorry, I don't know all the process, and he's helping me out how to put application in and do all the process before I put some work on.
Okay.
So that's something I learned from this room. So in the future, if I still have a lot of work to do, But if I hire somebody, I have to go through the commissioner before I do any work. That's what I understand.
Okay. Well, now that you know city staff, and you work with them real closely, and we'll make sure that we work together.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any questions from commission? Okay. Motion?
I'll go ahead and make a motion. I think we need to go ahead and approve the certificate of appropriateness in accordance with the materials submitted and let the applicant move forward with getting that roof installed.
And a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Sage,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Franken. McGivern.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Takes us to other business. We have no other business on the agenda, as I understand, Matt. Is that correct?
That's correct. Last month, we had a work session for a retaining wall in a historic district that's commonly known as the Octagon House. So city staff, as well as the engineering department, has been working with the owner this past month. So it's really kind of what we've boiled it down to is she's proposing 3 different walls, one on her own property, the historic retaining wall on the street, and then one in the right-of-way. So after consulting with legal, it's really the historic retaining wall that the commission will vote on. So it sounds like that may be coming forward next month. So.
Okay. This takes us to a portion of open forum for comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to the commission?
I have a question for the commission.
Please come forward and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Kevin Heggie. I'm at 521 West 6th Street in the neighborhood of all these people who have been here tonight. I had a question. When was the last new construction approved in the Hamburg? In the last 30 years, or maybe 526 West 7th, which is affordable housing?
I wouldn't know. I can find out for you.
Would it has been anything, do you think?
I could find out for you.
I would
If
love to
it's,
see the city finding a way to, because we are a living neighborhood, and we're also fighting attrition. Like, we're losing all these wonderful historic buildings to fire, to malfeasance and, neglect. But what new can be brought into the neighborhood that looks good and, keeps the neighborhood nice and living? So I think just a suggestion really, or a question, like, what can we do to keep the neighborhood alive? And bring in new people and, fresh blood. So does the city have any thoughts on that, or?
Well, I'll direct to the commission and.
Oh, sorry.
No,
For-
that's
you can
okay.
direct the staff.
No problem.
Don't want to violate the rules of
So
order.
I can find out for you on that. I understand
Okay.
your concern, and I think it's a very.
Because recently there's been many fires and, we get empty lot after empty lot, but what will refill them?
And I was just reaching out to your ward alderman who
Okay.
lives in the neighborhood.
I'll
and
see
share your
Marion Saturday.
concerns, and I think they're very realistically based, legitimate concerns.
Okay. I just want to put that on the record, so thank you guys. I
Thank you,
appreciate
sir.
that.
Is there anyone else from the public?
I hear, can I go now?
You sure can. Thank you so much. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn the meeting?
And a second. All in favor?
Second. Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.